How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I'm going to be making a sit down video, and this is because I've done a lot on the charts recently and I just wanted to do a talking video because I also think they're good. I will be doing the Q&A at some point. I don't know if people would have seen, I put on my Instagram about a week ago, asked for some Q&A questions. I'm going to get a few more and then I will make the next Q&A. But today I'm going to be talking about something that a lot of you would have seen, and actually I think a lot of you have come over from this video, and it was the how I lost 10% in 2 seconds, which may sound insane, but it's true, I did. And I wanted to make a follow-up video today talking about exactly what I did to come back from that, because although hopefully none of you have experienced those massive losses that I did, you know, it still does apply whether you lose 10% or you lose 1%. So I think it would be a good video to tell you exactly how I did certain things to improve both my physical training but also my psychology. And I did kind of talk about that a little bit in my video, but it's been a few months since it's happened. We've, you know, repaired a lot of the building damage that occurred when that thing blew up, and yeah, so I wanted to make a video basically talking about that. Now, one more thing before I start going into that, I just wanted to apologize for slightly less uploads. Normally it's meant to be, 2-3 a week, but it's only been one recently. You just have to excuse me. I'm coming to the end of my degree in psychology, so I am writing a dissertation at the moment and it's taking up a lot of my time. I will still try and do as many videos as possible, at least once a week, but just understand I am trying my best. But writing a dissertation and trying to have a consistent YouTube upload schedule is not ideal, but having a degree in psychology will mean I'll be able to teach you a lot of things, and I have a lot of things to talk about psychology wise to do with trading that I've learned from my degree, but that's for another video. So first things first, if you don't know what loss I'm talking about, there's a video on my channel. I think it's the best video I've done, which is kind of sad because it is a video about how I lost a lot of money, but it's my best video. It's the one that's done the best, which is fine because I also think it is important to show the losses as I do. But if you don't know the video I'm talking about, I was trading CPI. I decided, well, I wasn't even trading CPI, I just didn't know CPI was coming. I was holding a trade, CPI flew to the moon, I was in a sell, I got slipped and I lost 10%. So it was pretty brutal. So yeah, that's basically what happened a few months ago. So now I'm just going to tell you about the things that I did to actually fix this nuke that I absolutely dropped on my account. I mean, you should never want to lose 10% anyway over a period of trades, but to lose it in 2 seconds in one trade is brutal. So I guess I'll start with psychology because I think that is the one that's that was the most effective, because I was like, holy, I don't know if I can swear, but a bad word, that was bad. That was really bad. And I remember having it happen and I was just sitting there thinking oh, that's really, really bad. So in terms of psychology, initially it was very much like you just start doubting yourself again because you think you're improving as a trader, and then you make a mistake like that where you don't check the news and you just feel like a beginner again. And I guess the word is very demoralizing because you spend years and years learning to trade and you make this mistake that a beginner probably wouldn't make because they check news every day, and you feel like you aren't as good as you thought you were. Now this is fine, obviously the market's humbling you as a thing and it does happen, so I don't mind that. The problem was I was just confident I was finally starting to make progress, and then that happened, so it kind of reinforces that I wasn't making in progress. And it's something it's something humans do. This isn't very this is well known, but something called operant conditioning, which is conditioning based off punishments or rewards. And it's the sense that when I do something like that and I get punished, it conditions myself to not want to do that thing again, because your body and your brain is basically telling you, yeah, that's not a good idea, mate, don't do that. So I actually ended up going back at some point to a bit of fear of entry, because that was the biggest issue I had when I first started learning. And then because I was operantly conditioned by this massive loss that you do this, you're going to get punished, it brought back this fear of entry again that I had to try and overcome. And so how I did this was by backtesting, because I was like, well, if I can prove to myself once that I shouldn't be worried to enter because I know my strategy works, I'll just do the same thing again. And so I backtested a year, and I saw that my strategy was profitable, as I knew it was, but I had to this time positively reinforce that it was and condition myself to think that it is okay to enter. And so I did that, and it did go over, you know, a week or two. It wasn't something that stayed for long, but that was definitely an issue I noticed with the fear of entry coming back in and the lack of self-belief that you initially have. And I've made a video about self-belief as well, and how I think it is the most important part of trading. If you don't believe in yourself, you genuinely will not make it, and I do believe that. Now, I obviously needed to think in a logical way, and I had to rectify the mistake I made, which is very, very clear. I should have been checking news, and I didn't. So do you know what I did? I wrote into my plan that before I even think about taking a trade, in fact, before I even open the TradingView website or the app, the news is the first thing I check. I go into FX Factory or whatever it's called, or FX Street. There's infinite different ones. But I check the news before I open the charts, because that way I know if there is any news coming out apart from the obvious ones. And CPI was an obvious one, but you just don't think about it if you don't check. And yeah, I force myself to check before I enter a trade now, and that's basically just meant that I'm not going to be accidentally trading in a period where I shouldn't be trading. So far we've got obviously the obvious fix of checking news, and the fact for me psychologically fear of entry came back. But what other things did I experience, you know, after such a big loss? Well, initially, another thing that you do experience is revenge trading. I mean, I think that is a given. If you lose a trade normally, you're tempted to re-enter, or you're tempted to take a position to make the loss back, let alone 10%. You know, you can imagine if you spent months building up this profit, because it was luckily majority profit and not actual capital, but regardless, you spend months building up this profit and news just takes it all from you. It is really annoying, to be honest, to put it frankly, and it does make you want to re-enter a position to make some of that money back, not necessarily 10%, but some of the money. And so it was really hard to take that loss, close the charts, and just not think about it, which is what I normally do if I take a losing position. I just don't look at the charts anymore. And normally I take loss as well. You know, I've had my fair share. I've had 30-40 losses in a row before, years ago. So I was pretty used to them, but this one was brutal because of how much it was. I'd never lost that much before. And the thing that makes losing easier is when you're prepared, you know, say you're risking 10-20 pounds a trade on a small account, like a 2-3k account. You know you're losing that. You know, okay, if this trade goes wrong, I'll lose 10 pounds, I'll lose 20 pounds, and you can see that, and you know it's not a big deal. You know that you're willing to risk that to make the profit, and that's fine. But I was not prepared to lose 10%, and when I went into that trade, I didn't go, yeah, if I lose 10% on this trade, that's fine, because the trade was a 1 to 3. So if someone said to me, risk 10% to make 3%, why would anyone do that? That's a stupid idea, because if it goes south, you lose 10%. If it goes well, you make 3%. So you're not even making 50% of what you're risking from your 10% risk. It just didn't sit well with me. So the urge to revenge trade was definitely there. And I think that was something I did struggle with. And I think something that a lot of people would struggle with. But my point is with this is everyone does make mistakes. I don't care how new, good, OP of a trader you are, you will lose, you will make mistakes. It's a given. Human error is a thing. It's not something that we can prevent. And so I just want to make a follow-up to show that if you do make a big mistake like I did and blow 10% in 2 seconds, you can fix it. It's not, you've not failed as a trader or messed up, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the same situation as me. If you thought flipping an account was a good idea and you lost it all, if you tried to just trade news and you lost it all, those are all mistakes that people learn from and people grow from. And so I'm just telling you what I did to grow from the mistake that I made. And luckily now, I've had a few good weeks, a few good months, and we've made it back. So it's not the end of the world, and my psychology is back to where it was before. So that's all I can really say is it will get better, and hopefully this video does show you that. But thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate you sticking with me, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Happy trading.